Is that the Montech King 95 Pro? Yeah, I was just taking a look at it. It's a really interesting case. How so? So let's go over the features of the case and then you'll see why. So the Montech King 95 Pro has two tempered glass panels, the side and the front, but the front glass panel is actually curved. So no matter which angle you're looking through, you can see the entire build. So I thought that was really cool. And another cool design feature is the top. It almost looks like the top panel is not completely on, but that's actually a design feature. There's about a 10 millimeter gap going all the way around. So the top panel almost looks like it's floating. And it's got this really cool mesh type material. So that goes all the way around, really interesting. And this case also has an RGB strip in the front. So moving on, the bottom, we've got this gap right here to let in cool air into the bottom fans. The front I/O consists of the power button at the top. The second button controls the RGB strip. We've got two audio jacks, two USB Type A, and a USB Type C. We've got mesh on the back and the top panel to allow for lots of airflow. We've got a lot of ventilation in the back, including our 120 millimeter fan. Got ventilation all down here. Got our PCIe slot covers, our power supply cavity. This is a little cover that's got ventilation for the drive caddies. And the front tempered glass panel can be swapped out as well for an included mesh panel for maximum airflow. So that's going to be really interesting to see how that looks once we've got the build going. And then the front panel just pops right off. The side panel has one captive screw, so you just completely back this all the way out and then just pop it out with this tab. Same with the back panel, one captive screw, and this pops out, and then the top is toolless and just pops right out. So speaking of the panels, let's go ahead and take these off and show you the inside. You take those panels off. Hey, yo. All right, so the King 95 Pro can fit up to ATX size motherboards. Comes included with 6 RGB fans. The side are 140 millimeter and they are set to intake. The bottom are 120 millimeter and they are also set to intake. Then we've got one exhaust fan in the rear and it's 120 millimeters. And those are all pre-wired to a fan controller in the back. And I should mention that this bracket right here is held in with 2 screws, but I've already got those removed. And then once those are removed, you can just swing it out like this, which reveals our included fan controller and everything all pre-wired. Then we've also got our available PWM and 5-volt RGB connections, which I'm going to be using for our top fans. So let's bring it around towards the front again. So we've got a lot of grommets for cable management. Should make it easy. We've got this Montech badge over here that's nice and shiny. The bottom fans can be swapped out for this included bracket that you can mount drives to. So you'd have to remove those fans and then bolt this into the case for your drives if you're the type of person that has a ton of storage. So that is always an option. The side bracket for the side fans can be removed with 2 screws, one at the top, one at the bottom. So if you want to mount a radiator to it or whatever you want to do, you can bring that out of the case. The top bracket can fit varying size radiators and fans to it and is also removable with 4 screws. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can mount your radiators or fans outside of the case to make install easy. I think that does it for the front. So let's move towards the back. So this bracket can fit storage drives and different size radiators and fans, which I find very interesting. We'll have to see how that works. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to get to try it, but we got fans right there. So I'm curious what fans or radiators right here would do. So we may have to try that out. So here's the back. We've got a ton of room for cable management. We've got some cable management little wraps right here that say Montech on them. We've got all of our fan cables. Then we've got our front panel connections down here. And then a really interesting thing about this case is this is the bracket for our storage caddies. You can see our caddies right here, so you can mount drives to them and slide them in. But this can be removed, so you can mount your power supply either down here or up here. Or if you want to run dual power supplies, you can do that. Or if you want to run the drive bracket down at the bottom and your power supply at the top, you can do that. So I found that really interesting. That's really cool. And I think that does it for the back. That covers just about everything, and we'll show more once the build is all done. And some really cool attention to detail on this case as well. You can see they used reverse blade fans, which not a lot of people think about. You see how we have a uniform look across all of our fans, but the bottom and side are intake, but the rear is exhaust. So that's really cool to see. That shows some real thought put into this case. And this is really minor, but if you look at the box for all of our hardware, it's all very well labeled for where it goes, because sometimes finding where things go is kind of a pain, but these are all very well labeled. So that's some really cool attention to detail, but I think that's gonna do it. It's build time, my dude.
Anywhere you go, you belong. Anywhere you say, anywhere.
That was fun to build in. I agree, that was fun. Now walk them through the finished build. All right, so the CPU is a Ryzen 7800X3D, and that's being cooled by a Montech HyperFlow ARGB 360mm AIO, and I did swap out the top fans for Montech's AX120s. As you can see, all of the fans match now, and they look great. The GPU is an Asus Tough Gaming 4070 OC. The motherboard is a Gigabyte X670 and is an Aorus Elite AX. We've got 32 gigabytes of Team Group T-Create RAM at 6000 megahertz. And then for storage, we've got a WD Black SN850X, and we got 2 terabytes of it. And then last but not least, we've got a Montech Titan Gold 1000 watt PSU. And I did do custom cable wraps for all of the PSU cables. It took quite a bit of time, but I think it was worth it because it looks great. As far as thermals go, I used the program OCCT to do all of my benchmarking, and I ran a 30-minute test for each component. And for the CPU, the max temperature I saw was 72 degrees Celsius. And keep in mind, this is under 100% load during this whole test. And the GPU, the max temperature I saw was 69 degrees Celsius. So fantastic temperatures. And that's with the fan speed at about 40%, which I believe is around 850 RPM. And then for the pump, it was at 70%, which is 1800 RPM. So I could actually turn those up a bit and probably see better results. And then I ran the exact same benchmarks, but with the mesh front panel, and I actually saw a 2 degrees Celsius drop across the CPU and GPU, which I was expecting because that mesh panel is letting in a lot of cool air. And although it is a minor temp drop, for those that want the absolute lowest temperatures, the mesh panel may be the way to go. And honestly, it doesn't even really look that bad. Final thoughts on the case? So I had a great experience with this case. I thought it was really easy to build in and straightforward. I think it looks great. I think there's a lot of cool attention to detail that Montech put into this case, like the mesh front panel, the little bracket for the bottom if you want to run extra drives. Even the hardware box was really cool to see them fully label it and not have to go to the manual to try to figure out which screws go where. And then even using reverse blade fans, not a lot of people think about that, but you can see all of the fans have a uniform look across all of them, and that looks great. So lots of attention to detail. And then, like I said earlier, you can tell they put a lot of thought into this case. And then the star of the show, for me at least, is the cable management. This definitely took a while, but I think it really paid off and looks really clean. And one thing to note is the front panel connections normally come down here, and then you can hook them up to your motherboard, but I actually routed them up and over the controller, so they go down through this nest of wires and then to the motherboard. And as you can see, it's super clean right here. There's no wires or anything, and I think just looks a little bit better. And obviously right now I don't have that bracket that swings out, that actually hides all of those fan cables up there. But really happy with the cable management. And I definitely recommend this case to anyone that's in the market.